What's going on, everybody? Today we're going to be meal prepping these Hoisin meatballs with roasted broccoli and rice, and I loved this recipe. It's definitely a go-to item now. It was so good. Nutritionally, each serving has roughly 526 calories with roughly 43 grams of protein, so let's jump in on how to make it. Alright, so we'll get started with our broccoli. Similar process as usual. To a baking tray, we'll hit it with some oil, then toss in 680 grams of raw broccoli. And what I'm going to do real quick is just peel them up a little bit and make them more into bite-sized pieces. Some of these are entirely too big, so go ahead and split those up. And once there, we'll hit this with 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of black pepper, and 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. Now we'll give this a good shake, and then we'll toss this in a 475-degree Fahrenheit oven for about 20 minutes or so. Alright, with the broccoli out of the way, now let's cook some rice. Simple process here too. I'm going to add in 250 grams of washed white long grain rice to a saucepan, and we'll just let the grains toast for 30 seconds or so. Then we'll go ahead and add in the water or chicken stock if you want. It's totally up to you. But we'll give this a good mix and then just let the rice simmer until it's cooked through. Then after about 10 minutes or so, my rice is starting to come together, so we'll fluff this up a little bit and then we'll set it off to the side until we're ready to prep. So the next thing we're going to want to do is make our sauce. So to a mixing bowl here, we'll go in with 50 grams of hoisin sauce, and any hoisin will work that you can find at your store. Then we'll add in 25 grams of gochujang, another 20 grams of soy sauce, 8 grams of brown sugar, 15 grams of rice vinegar. We'll grate in 1 garlic clove, a few cracks of black pepper, and then 1 teaspoon of minced ginger. And after that, we can go ahead and mix this up, and I didn't get it on camera, but go ahead and set aside roughly 20 grams or so of this sauce that we'll use to glaze our meatballs while they're cooking. And speaking of the meatballs, let's go ahead and make those. I have 900 grams of 93.7 ground turkey here, which we'll just hit with some oil first. Then we'll season with 2 teaspoons of salt, 2 teaspoons of black pepper, 20 grams of soy sauce, 2 teaspoons of minced garlic, 2 teaspoons of minced ginger, and then about 3 teaspoons of minced green onion. Now we can go ahead and give this a good mix, make sure everything's well incorporated, and once it's there, let's go ahead and make our meatballs. So very simply, take a little bit and roll it up in your hands like so, and just repeat the process until all the turkey is gone, and you can oil your hands a little bit, which will help prevent the turkey from sticking to your hand when you're rolling it up. And I'm just keeping my meatballs bite-sized, which will just make them a little bit easier to eat. So go ahead and get these rolled up, and then we'll get to cooking. Alright, so to a skillet here, I'm going to get this on medium-high heat. Add a little bit of oil and then go in with my meatballs. We'll get those placed around the pan all neatly like so. Now what I'm going to do is just take some of that reserved sauce from earlier and start basting my meatballs over the top. And I've noted this before, but a cooked meatball dipped in the sauce has a different flavor than a meatball that's glazed with the sauce while searing, and I like the latter. But it is nonetheless optional. If you don't really feel like doing this, don't worry about it. You can always just glaze your meatballs at the very end. But anyways, what I'm going to do is just sear the meatballs. I'm not actually going to cook them through entirely. I just want to sear them, get a little crust on them, get that flavor developed, and then we'll finish them in the oven. Now once all of our meatballs have color on them and we'd like them where they're at, let's go ahead and add them all back into the pan here. And then we'll take any of the remaining sauce that we reserved from earlier and just glaze the meatballs with it. And then after that, we'll place the skillet in a 475-degree Fahrenheit oven until the meatballs reach 165 degrees internally, which for me was about 5 to 10 minutes, although it's just going to vary depending on how much you cooked them in the pan. So just monitor them on your end. But either way, be prepared for a delicious meatball to come out of the oven because these were super tasty. So with these now done, let's go ahead and prep. We'll go ahead and split our bowls into thirds. So we'll start with our roasted broccoli first, and we'll tuck this into one side of the bowls like so. And then the next thing we'll add is our rice from earlier, putting this in the middle of our bowls. And we'll get this all neatly organized in there as well. And then it's meatball time. I'm going to put something like, I don't know, 6 or 7 into each serving, into that final third. It just depends on how big or small you made yours. And then we can take the rest of that Hoisin gochujang sauce and spoon that over our meatballs, which is going to taste really well when it mixes with that rice. So that's why I like to put these two next to each other. And then finally, we'll make this all pretty by topping the meatballs with some sliced green onion. All right, now we are done. I was personally super happy with how these turned out. I thought the flavors tasted really well and would highly recommend trying it out. But thank you guys for watching, and we'll be back with more videos in the future.